The top 5 heroic failures. At number 5, the MG-SV. When BMW gave up on Rover, a group of plucky Brummie businessmen bought it for 10 quid and started thinking about what would be needed to keep the company alive. Unfortunately, they decided it was this. The SV was certainly distinctive, what with all those slats on the body, and it drove surprisingly well, even if when Jeremy Clarkson tried to power slide one on the track, he smacked his head rather hard on the roof. But the Brummie businessmen hadn't thought this through, because the number of people who wanted a car that cost as much as a Porsche 911, but crucially wasn't a Porsche 911, turned out to be almost zero, and their company went belly up soon afterwards. Number 4, the Spruce Goose. Howard Hughes was a wealthy industrialist, aviator, and movie maker who dreamt of making the world's biggest aeroplane to carry troops during the Second World War. Unfortunately, he was also a bit mad. This might explain why he spent so long making every bit of his new flying machine perfect that the war was finished before it was. Nonetheless, Hughes carried on, and eventually his huge baby was completed, as tall as today's Airbus A380 and with an even bigger wingspan, all the better to carry its 8 enormous engines. In 1947, Hughes himself took the new craft, officially called the H-4 Hercules, but nicknamed the Spruce Goose, for its first test flight, covering just 1 mile at a maximum height of 70 feet. It would be the only flight this mammoth seaplane ever made. The war was over. The US government was not, that Hughes had spent their money developing a troop carrier that they no longer needed, and Hughes himself was still mad. The Spruce Goose was certainly ambitious, but it was also a bit pointless. At number 3, the DeLorean DMC12. John Z. DeLorean was a lantern-jawed American hero with a history of success, but when he came up with the idea of an ethical sports car, his ambitions turned to rubbish. First of all, he took checks off eager buyers without having engineered any of the bits underneath his pretty stainless steel body, or found anywhere to build it. Lotus sorted out the first bit by using their Esprit chassis as a starting point, then the British government gave him a sack of cash to put a factory in Northern Ireland. All seemed well, until people realised the car was basically a wheezy lash-up, and sales dried up. With no one left to bail him out, DeLorean got in deep with money-making drug deal, which turned out to be an FBI sting, and his car business went down the pan. Whoops. At number 2, the Phillips Multiplane. Horatio Phillips was one of the pioneers of aviation. It's just unfortunate that some of his ideas were basically a bit rubbish. His theory that instead of a pair of wings, planes should have many smaller ones, up to 200 of them. Phillips fiddled about with prototypes for many years until in 1907 his final multiplane design managed to fly for a distance of 500 feet, ideal for people who really wanted to get to places such as just over there. After that, the multiplane idea went away, which is probably for the best. If Phillips' theories had ever been proved correct, it would have made 747s look ridiculous. And at number 1, the Tupolev Tu144. This, not Concorde, was the first supersonic commercial airliner to fly, and the first to break Mach 2. Both things that in themselves would be impressive. It's just what happened afterwards that marks the Tu-144 as a truly heroic failure. The Russians brought one to their 1973 Paris Air Show to demonstrate their technological achievement to the decadent West, only for it to crash during a demonstration flight. In light of safety fears, the rest of the Tu-144 test fleet was relegated to hauling mail and freight across the vast expanses of the USSR. In 1978, another Tu-144 crashed, and in 1983 the Soviet government ordered that the whole project be canned, along with the existing planes to be used only for flying laboratory work, whilst on the other side of the Iron Curtain, the rival Anglo-French Concorde was now merrily whizzing backwards and forwards across the Atlantic without a problem. Whatever the Russian for "that's not gone well" is, they might have said that. That was the top 5 ambitious but rubbish heroic failures.